had this doll for quite a while now. It was a beautiful porcelain doll. You know, the way most porcelain dolls look, I guess. It was just that way. Wavy, long, blonde curls, black eyes, and a beautiful pink and red dress with the typical headband with lace around the edges. It was a doll I received from my mother at an early age. I want to say I was about 8 when I got a hold of it. Yeah, about 8. But anyway, I always thought it was such a pretty doll. A perfect look, if you will. My grandmother had almost 50 of these dolls, almost just like this. All of them beautiful in their own way. Perfect porcelain dolls. But this one, in particular, the blonde with the red dress, I will always remember. Because this doll, this is the one that will be the death of me. I lived alone for quite a while. I had to. Well, I didn't have to, it's just the way things ended up. I had just gotten into college, seeing my whole life lay in front of me, and all I had to do was just pick out what I wanted. Simple and as easy as that. It was so simple. I was aiming for psychology, a subject I had started to respect and enjoy the last 3 years, seeing as my mother was a nurse and my father a therapist. It was an obvious choice for me, but living so far away from all my friends and family back home, well, it wasn't easy as I thought. Sure, my roommate was a nice person and all, but maybe not as chatty as I hoped for her to be. I wasn't a person to just sit in my ass in a quiet room all day long and never speak until I had to. I enjoyed getting out, seeing friends, but I didn't have many time or friends around. No one talked to me unless I needed or wanted help from a teacher in school, or my roommate had forgotten to buy any milk. It was lonely to say the least. Very lonely, in fact. Homework was a thing, well, it was the only thing that distracted me from feeling lonely. I never had time to try and never make any friends. Friends was just, they were such a silly thing after all. I mean, what's the point of them? I didn't have the time to go out and party, or maybe find somebody. It was worthless either way. And hell, my dad would have me skinned alive if I didn't keep my grades up and focus on my schoolwork. I was kind of trapped in my position where I couldn't get out. The only thing I had brought with me from home to remind me of my friends and family was that doll. That goldish toy was displayed on my desk in front of my bed, smiling against me whenever I needed it. Someone to talk to or just watch over me as I slept. It was me and that doll the whole time, all alone. That stupid, fucking ugly doll. As time went on, I started to pull myself further and further away from any human contact as possible. The schoolwork was getting over my head, and I'd regret going to here and begin filling my head, and I couldn't stop it from filling my head. It was horrible. I tried everything to get it out of my head, but I couldn't get the feeling out of my head. My roommate was starting to despise me and hate me. I could tell. Oh, God, could I tell. But I didn't blame her. I was acting like a complete, total fucking jerk to her and everybody else. I refused to take out my share of the daily chores, wiping the floors, taking out the trash, but I couldn't do it. I was being pulled into a dark black hole that I couldn't pull myself out of. no matter what I tried to do. And with the loneliness came paranoia. At first I accepted being lonely, but it had reached the point, that very point, where I started to realize my dumb behavior and started trying to reach out to people, among them and tell them I wasn't feeling alright. There was only stress and nobody had time to talk to a stupid college student. It was only nerves, I hoped. I locked myself up and away from everyone in my room, and I couldn't go out anymore. I just fucking couldn't go out anymore. I had to send into my teachers and cancel classes day after day, but it didn't matter. They didn't send anything in search of me, or anyone for that matter. So I just kept spinning in my room, week in and week out. It was an evil cycle that I couldn't break or get out of. Then it happened. My room had been my cage for so long. I wouldn't eat. I couldn't eat. Hell, it even reached that point when my roommate would come knocking on my door to see if everything was okay, but I didn't open it up. I just yelled back in reply so that she would go away. She did. She didn't care enough to make a second attempt. She never knocked on my door again. It was just me and my doll. Night after night. Then there was that night. This night, in fact. It was this night I was so used to spending alone, I didn't even bother trying to turn the lights on when I stepped out from my bed and pulled a sweater and a pair of untied Converse before I made my way out of my room. It's about dang time. I hadn't been out in so many days. It felt like a year or so. But I needed fresh air. And my window was broken. Unable to open it. It was the middle of the night or maybe the morning. I really couldn't tell. It was still dark outside, so I assumed it was still night. Even though I hadn't really checked the time yet. Couldn't care less, really. Anyway, it was a pain in the ass to come out of my room with not waking my stupid roommate up. All I needed was to get out of my cage for a few minutes. Go get some air. Maybe go out and buy some smokes. I had promised myself I would stop smoking, but lately, that's the only thing I had been doing lately. Smoking. Terrible habit. But that's all I had. It's a bad thing. Trust me, I knew it was a bad thing. Between all the commercials I was seeing on TV and all the lectures I attended in the years past, I knew it was a bad thing. I knew it all too well, but I really couldn't care less. I did it anyway. It's the only thing that kept me awake and safe. But that particular night, there was something strange. Someone had unlocked the gate out to the street from the dorm. It hadn't opened before, and I thought the landlord had a hard hand to keep it locked all times. Didn't bother. I just pushed it open. After a while I came back. I just pushed the little red box out of my pocket and started smoking. The good thing about the night was that no one was around to annoy me or say anything with their stupid voices. It was quiet. Maybe just a car driving by, but then no more than that. It was peaceful. And I loved it. After a few minutes, and after the fact that I gained some sanity back, I guess, I went back inside to warm my skin up and head back to my cage. With some cold in my warm skin and some smoke inside my lungs, I just decided to head back in and watch some television. Nothing good aired late at night, but hell, it was worth a try. I stepped back into the building and struggled the last bit of the unwanted cold off, making myself ready to sneak back into my room. But as soon as I came to the staircase, there was something in the way, or someone. Someone was standing there in the stairway. I had to admit, it didn't scare me at all to see someone standing there at this point. I was back in my not giving an actual single fuck state and tried to walk up the stairs without confronting the person standing in the middle of the fucking stairway. Fucking prick. So I tried walking past him, and lo and behold, me and my clumsy ass managed to bump into him as I walked past him, only a little bit, you know. Just a simple shoulder brush, nothing too horrible or big, I guess. Kind of rude, though. But even though I bumped into him, he didn't move or speak. He just stood there. It was creeping me out, actually. The scenario was too freaky, but of course there was other students in this apartment, but just I put all the students in this dorm are assholes. They are just waiting to scare the shit out of you the second they get the chance. But I wasn't in the mood to be fooled. I wasn't the one to be fooled at all. But I didn't stop until I heard a sound. It was one of those sounds where it just caused your mind to just break shut. Distracting, scary, and unnerving. I couldn't continue on, so I just froze in position and tried to turn around and face him. At first there was a crackling sound like an old TV makes when it tries to turn on or it falls to static. Then it was just sobbing. A young man's voice just sobbing, but it wasn't human. Yeah, maybe to some degree, but the voice was hitching up in higher tone, like it was breaking through a bad static television screen. I stood only a few steps away from the man in the shadow. I wanted to break away from the sudden frozen state of mind, but I couldn't. I was stuck. There, like my feet had been nailed to the stairs. I was trying to speak, but he spoke before I had the chance to. It was getting clearer to see now, since spending some time in the darkness helped me to make the vision of him cleared up. He was wearing some kind of jacket, black, everything black, a sewn cap, and with strings falling out from the holes in the back, also black. His hair was torn but long, like he hadn't been able to cut it for a while or showered it. Ugh. His appearance was erect. I really don't know how to describe it. It was horrible. I didn't know how to really to describe how his overall presence made me feel. It was enough to break you, but his voice appeared like a dagger in my ears. When he spoke, he made of another static noise, like a broken radio. But he spoke in words, tired, almost in like a tired strain. Tried to calm me down, but I was already too scared to bring myself to relax. You're alone here, aren't you? I swallowed hard. The thought of somebody spying on me this entire time while I was filling my head like an urge to vomit, feeling disgusted by the man and his voice. I just shook my head, no, in response. I couldn't give him a reply. I should have, maybe it had changed the whole situation for the better. Maybe I hadn't been here now, scared for my life, but I was, and I knew that it was. He knew that as well. But when I didn't give him an answer he expected, he turned to me, and his sight was one of the most terrifying yet fascinating faces I'd ever seen. He wasn't scarred or wounded in any way to make me feel uncomfortable by his appearance, but his eyes and mouth had a weird glow, of an almost goldish, yellow-orange glow. It filled both his eyeballs and mouth, his teeth shining through the bright yellow light. It glowed in the dark, and it casted a light across us, on the stairs, the floor, on me, and I could see his smirk, his gray painted face. That's when I snapped. It wasn't human, and I had to get away from it. I had to get away from it and here. I broke through the invisible boards I'm losing my shit at this point. My invisible bonds. And threw myself up the stairs, running up quickly as I untied shoes slammed against the wooden floor. I fled to my room without any other second thought. Hopefully my roommate that I had been ignoring for so many weeks would hear me and call the police. I slammed the door shut, and I locked the door. My stumbling feet bringing me across the floor into the desk, knocking my precious family doll onto the floor. The porcelain broke, and I gasped in total shock and panic. I can't believe it broke. Trying to recollect myself and my thoughts, there was no more noise after I slammed the door to my room. No roommate coming after me to comfort me. No weird glowing man at the stairway. Just me and my broken doll laying on the floor. I tried to scream or cry, to call out for any help at all. It wasn't real. I had become too crazy insane. After spending so many months just being alone, this is what had happened. I was laying on the floor, broken and shattered into pieces. I didn't know what to believe. I didn't have even the slightest idea of what to believe anymore. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor, pacing back and forth by crawling the best I could. The cigarette from before, now just the salt. Not just like a salt. It's just like it just sat there like a needle in my throat. I was thirsty, but I couldn't move out to the kitchen to get a drink or anything. Maybe he was there, still waiting for me to come out. But I wasn't moving out of the spot. I never did. But an hour of complete silence in my room, I began to calm down and stand up, to try to calm myself down. There was still a strange feeling of me being watched, and I knew the feeling too well. The feeling was of being paranoid and lonely. It all came down to this: a breakdown. I remember the doll being broken. I immediately started trying to patch back together. It was the only thing I had to focus. My best friend, the doll. I managed to get a needle and thread in my room, along with some glue I snuck out from class, and get the doll put back together to its former glory, or at least best I could. But it wasn't easy. No matter how hard I tried, the doll just wouldn't fall back together. It became an endless attempt of nothing. I tried again and again, but it just fell to pieces. My only friend. I became too tired, all of a sudden, panicking, and fixing the doll. I just passed out on my bed. But I curled up together in a ball with a blanket over my head, somehow imagining that no monster under my bed could reach me now. All I wanted to do was sleep. And I would rather die in my sleep than face another day dealing with any of these monsters and being lonely again. And now with my only friend broken, what was I supposed to do? It was tiring, the way he approached me this time. It was like I was asleep, but I couldn't control my body, like a lucid dream. I wouldn't dare to step into another day. Tonight, it would end. Just like I had been afraid it would, but I didn't care anymore. I didn't bother. I just wanted to have a long sleep and never wake up again, never face loneliness again. He came back to me, with his hands guiding me up from my bed. He wrapped his mind around mine as I tried to see, but the only thing I could do is stare at his gray face. I could still see his gray hands holding mine tight, but suddenly there was a sensation I wasn't sure if I could feel, of floating. Like a puppet, he cuts at one of my wrists, but it wasn't across, more like from the center of my arm down. He reached for something. Muscles. Something to peel out and hang on to, I guess. The bad thing was, I allowed him to do it. My struggle became too much to bear, and with long pieces of muscle hanging out of my cuts at my wrists, he started to pull at them. He pulled at them like he wanted to control my body and arms. How it all came together in reaction to my nervous system and skeleton. He knew how it all worked. Yet there was no pain. No pain that filled my heart or body. Just another piece of my mind staying at ease again. It was a wonderful feeling. It was almost like nothing mattered. And as he continued to cut me open, he began singing. They call me the Puppeteer, my fingers are thin, and my hands are stained with my tears. For the puppets I steer with my strings and dreams. Now I didn't see him clear. I could see him clear, but the man who had just hated with all my might, I now welcomed to finish off my endless suffering. Maybe it had been he who had forced me into this thinking. Maybe he was the real one to blame for everything that was done myself. Was this all in my head, or was it real? They call me the Puppeteer. I had no friends like you. For nobody I saw the value of friendship. But in the end they became my friends, with my strings and dreams. It took me only a minute to lose my sense of touch. My nervous system had become crushed under the hand of this man. This thing breaking every bone in my body. I could feel him twisting at my ribs and twisting at my hip bones. All for it to make it easier for him to turn me into what he saw as a fitting to be. It was like a long piece of torn muscle with strings controlling my limbs, and my head falling from the side to side. All I could see was his smile, so I smiled back. They call me the Puppeteer, my dark body and my eyes hunger of gold. In my eyes no one is alone, and with my strings and dreams, you shall be my friend too. The last feeling I could feel was his hand tugging around my neck. Then, all at once, snap! At first I was afraid to see death approaching this way. I had never thought of the fact that my life would end this way, but lo and behold, this is how it ended. But, truth be told, I didn't mind. I wouldn't have said no or refused. If I could have decided it all on my own, but I didn't. I said yes. With a broken neck, death was just seconds away. Then there was nothing but a golden smile and his warm hands holding my strings up as my body fell. Early the other morning, my roommate found me dead. I had committed suicide by hanging myself from the ceiling fan, assuring my death. I had jumped from my bed besides me was that doll, the broken porcelain doll with the red dress and the lovely blonde hair. You may be wondering how I'm writing this to you right now, or how I found my way to contact you. I found it necessary to write down my story before I passed on. This is my legacy. This one piece of parchment is my legacy. This is what I'm leaving behind. I couldn't stand the loneliness anymore. I couldn't stand facing the problems on my own. It took so long. Too long. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm so sorry. I love you.